We are live, and man, Coach, the wait is finally over, man. We don't have to come on here and talk hypotheticals. We don't have to come on here and talk bold takes. We don't have to come on here and try to project what we think is going to happen 3 months from now, Coach. Kickoff in 48 hours from now, just about.
I think the
We
first one's
finally
at
got some
2:30.
finally got some football to talk about, man. We're going to really talk about the biggest games in week 0, talk a little bit about some of the storylines that have come out since last time you saw us. And man, we have so much content coming down the pipeline that you guys are going to want to hear about. We'll make that announcement a little bit later, but as always, joined by my co-host, Coach Leroy Frederick. Man, Coach, how we feeling?
Man, feeling good, man. It's a week away. This time next week, man, you know where I'll be and you know what time it is. But by then, we will have some football and we'll be lathered up and ready to go, man.
I'm so pumped. I don't think people understand. Coach, I don't even care if I don't listen, I might pay the pay-per-view to watch Delaware State play Hawaii at midnight. Just might splurge. And Coach, that is a real thing. They have Delaware State and Hawaii kicking off at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time, and it's on pay-per-view.
Yeah, those numbers are gonna go through the roof.
Yeah. I mean, Coach, the real question is, are 1,000 people going to pay the price to watch that game? I don't think so.
I'm taking the under.
I'm taking the under on that one too. But man, y'all know how this works. Coach, real quick, I wanted to get into a quick storyline. This broke right before the show, actually, and it's something we've talked about. Has nothing to do with the week 0 games, but Southern has named a quarterback. Noah Bodden officially named the starter today by new head coach Graves and offensive coordinator Mark Frederick. So I'm a little surprised. I'm going to be honest, Coach. I'm going to say this. I am 0 for 2 on quarterback battles in the SWAC right now. So I'm not feeling great. And I didn't make my picks based on info I was getting. I heard it was close races, but I still think there's 2 places that the better quarterback sitting on the bench.
Would that one be located in Florida?
Yeah.
Okay. And the other one in Baton Rouge?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Listen, the FAMU one, I'm going to offer my thoughts because I watched some film and I got some takes for our preview. I don't want to spoil those. But, Coach, there's a kid on the bench at Southern that he's one of those prospects, in my opinion, that you just got to hand on the ball and say, go make a play. Just go make a play. And you just go let him play. Hometown kid, high-ranking recruit, I heard has looked good in fall camp. It just hasn't got the snaps. And Coach, I don't know. I know you can't speak on it, but I'm going to say this. High-ranking recruits that don't get playing time tend to look elsewhere in the offseason. I don't think he's in Baton Rouge next year.
That's something drastically changes.
Yeah. Maybe he gets some playing time, middle of the season if Noah doesn't play well, but we'll see. A lot, I heard it was between him and Noah. The kid from Atlanta looked decent. I think it was Jalen Woods, but I heard that he wasn't really in the running to be the starter. So real quick, man, guys, me and Coach will be doing our 2-week shows live weekly, probably Sunday or Monday, depending on Coach's schedule on the week. So we'll kind of keep y'all updated. And then we're going to aim for Thursday around this time each week to do our preview. They will be YouTube exclusive. If you want the audio version, myself and Timothy are also doing 2 episodes a week where we go a little bit more in depth. Because listen, Coach is an active coach. He can't be on here for 2 hours like he is during the all season sometimes, man. So we got to keep these a little bit shorter. More info available on the website as well. We'll have so much weekly content. Our guy Gerald Huggins, Timothy Rosario, myself. You will not find more comprehensive FCS content than you will right here on the Bluebloods FCS Football Central on SI. But, Coach, let's start here. We got 4 big games. We're not going to preview Delaware State, Hawaii. You got Hawaii, right?
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. I felt like we got that one out of the way. But I want to start here, Coach. FCS Kickoff. North Alabama, Southeast Missouri State or SEMO, 6 p.m. Central kickoff on ESPN. The spread right now that I could find, Coach, has SEMO as a 12-point favorite, 57-point over-under set for that game. Is there any way North Alabama can pull off the upset, Coach, or are you going with the Red Hawks here?
I think the expectations for North Al this season are a lot higher than, a 12-point differential. So, I expect them to be able to come out and at least prove, because they've been talking about, the improvements that they've made from year one of coach to now his second season. Is it second or third? His second season.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be interesting to see what that jump looks like, but it's going to be a tough task on the road at a very good ball club
Well,
with high expectations. So
it's a neutral site. It'll be in
neutral
Montgomery.
site, but I'm
Yeah.
being the away team.
Yeah. I'm about to say it's kind of a home game for North Alabama to a point. Like
but they're not home.
Yeah, it's
but
weird. Like,
home
and also too, let's just be honest, neither team has a fan base that really is gonna, I
makes
don't
a
think,
difference.
pack out a stadium. So I think it will be like, this is gonna be the essence of a true neutral site game, because I think there's a team in Atlanta in a neutral site we're going to talk about that I don't think it's going to be a neutral site game.
No. Not at all.
I,
And I
I
mean,
will
no.
I will say this: if you remember, Coach, and me, and I brought this up to Timothy last year, me, you, and Timothy just were slamming Mercer. We were like, man, Mercer's going to take North Alabama out. It's not going to be close. Mercer by as many as they want to score. And North Alabama had every opportunity to win that
To win
game.
that
And
game. Yeah.
special teams, turnover, Coach, I mean, we've talked about this on this show a million times. Special teams will cost you a game with a quickness at any level. And special teams mistakes, turnovers really hurt North Alabama. I really do think they're primed to take a step forward. And if there's a player I would say to watch, if you're listening to the show, really not into FCS football as a true fan, I'm telling you, Ari Patu is a name that you need to look at. Name the starting quarterback today, Coach, for North Alabama. A Stanford transfer, played in 8 games for the Cardinals, started one against Oregon State last year, a former 4-star recruit, all-league a player at the high school level, and it was actually at the Polynesian Bowl in 2021 and was a finalist for one of the Polynesian Player of the Year awards while he was at Stanford. I think this kid, Coach, has so much potential watching his film. He just really didn't get a good shake at Stanford, was caught behind some upperclassmen guys, but he's 6'4", 6'5", can spin it, has some mobility as well. I think Ari Patu could be a breakout star to watch this weekend, and he could have a big game against the Red Hawk defense.
And you know what we say, if you got the trigger man, you got to have a chance. And that's all you want.
And there's a good one across the way, too. Let's not forget Paxton DeLaurent is no slouch. Probably a top 10 FCS quarterback in the country, was limited last year due to injury. Here's where I get worried for Simo, Coach. Do I think they're still going to be good? Yes. And if you just look at this game face value, you would think Simo should win this game easily just because of the names in this game. Simo's kind of been that contender every year. And as good as Paxton has been, Geno Hess was the face of that offense. Coach, we talked about it. Yes. Man, number 6 got the football at the running back spot. And let's not forget that bad man Ryan Flournoy, who's now with the Dallas Cowboys, was one of the only FCS players drafted last year, was a freak, went to the Senior Bowl, and they lose one of their best defensive players in Lawrence Johnson at safety. Now, Bryce Norman and that linebacking core is pretty together, but they lost a lot of their defensive line. So I would be very, very curious to see what that defense is going to look like, what the offensive identity is going to look like, because they have so many question marks at the weapons, just across the board at running back, wide receiver. And when you look at North Alabama's defense, Coach, they got the UAC Defensive Player of the Year. Shout out to my guy, man. Listen, Edwin White Schultz, Coach, me and him graduated from the same high school, from Mobile. I root for that kid really hard, man. I mean, I know him. So I think he is a guy to watch. Cameron Green on the defensive line too. I'm going to say this, Coach, and it's so hard picking week 0 games because you really don't know. But if you remember last year, we picked UAlbany and Fordham last year. It was kind of flipped where everyone was like, UAlbany, is not going to do it. But you got Fordham, who was in the playoffs, new quarterback, all this. I think North Alabama gets it done. I have a sneaky suspicion that this team is going to be really good. I got them in an upset, Coach, 24-20 over SEMO this weekend.
It's funny because that's who I was going to go with, because I was going to say I want to see the jump from year 1 to year 2. And going back to last year's game, Mercer not trying to force the ball to tie almost cost them versus this ball club. So, to see the step that they go forward with, I would love to see it. And I think that, the direction they're moving in is the right direction. So I had North Al picked as well.
I like it. That seems a popular pick. Our guy Sam Herder picked them too at Hero Sports. So it's a weird upset pick where everyone's picking the underdog, and it kind of makes me a little bit worried there that maybe we're just all sleeping on Simo. But Coach, let's move here. And I don't even know how to approach this, Coach. And you're gonna have to just make sure to take a seat when I explain this. Number 4, Montana State at New Mexico, FBS school. Coach, Montana State is missing 2 starters. And as of today, the line has inflated to 13.5 for Montana State. Montana State is almost a 2-touchdown favorite without their starting All-American center and without their starting running back.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I had to look again. I had to refresh it just to make sure that I was reading that correct. It's like, wow, 13. It's 14-0 right now. Montana State. That's crazy.
I will say this: they're almost to the record. The biggest spread that I think Sam Herder said he could find was Old Dominion was favored by 14 over Idaho in 2013 when Idaho was an FBS and Old Dominion FCS. But that was the year Old Dominion was transitioning, kind of similar to Delaware this year. And that was the biggest point spread in recent memory for an FCS FBS game. So if this keeps trending, this could be the biggest point spread in FCS history for an FCS school.
Man, I'm riding with them. I hope they can get it done.
Yeah, I think so. Now, let me say this. Bronco Mendenhall, a well-known coach at the FBS level, has taken over New Mexico. Coach, they are replacing almost everybody. It's almost hard to preview this game because there's nobody there. Really, I mean, they're all transfers or JUCO guys they brought in or something like that. So I don't know what to make of them. The funny part is their best player that they lost, Coach, actually played in the SWAC. Ja'Cory Merritt was an all-conference running back for New Mexico. He's now at Arizona. So he's gone. Yeah, right? It's weird how things work. And when I look at Montana State, here's why I'm not worried, Coach. If there was a position, 2 positions really, that Montana State as a roster could lose somebody, it's running back and its offensive line, because they probably have the deepest positional group in the country. Coach, their backup running back, Scotty Humphrey, had an amazing year. Their backup to their backup was a freshman All-American last year.
Yeah, no drop off.
And then offensive line, Coach, they replaced their All-American center with a guy who started 30 games in his career.
Nothing speaks louder than having freaking game reps. And when you have that and you have that up front, I mean, you're ahead of the 8. You're ahead of the 8.
I will say this. This is the one storyline, Coach, and we'll make our picks. I'm so interested to see what Tommy Mellott looks like, because you remember they had that 2-quarterback system. You don't have that man behind you to bail you out. If Tommy doesn't play well, they don't have Sean Chambers to go to. If Tommy gets hurt, they don't have Sean Chambers to go to. This is the year that Tommy Mellott has to prove to me and the country that he is as good as everyone says he is. This is it. And this is the moment, too, that you have to prove you can go out there and beat an FBS team, regardless if you're 2 touchdown favorites. It's time to go put it on the field and show me. Coach, I still think Montana State's the better team on paper. And I know paper doesn't win games, but it's week 0, and we only got paper right now. I did a little project, Coach. I looked at New Mexico's roster and said, where would I rank them in the Big Sky? I think they probably rank 5 through 7 in the Big Sky right now in terms of just overall roster talent. I think Montana State wins, and I think Montana State. I had them covering, but when I put my pick in, it was only 10.5, and it's inflated, so I don't have them covering as of now. But I'm gonna increase it. I'm gonna have them covering. I'm gonna go Montana State 31-17 over New Mexico this weekend. It's a 14-point. If it inflates anymore, I'm not going any higher. They won't cover, but I'm saying they'll win by 14.
I'm taking a money line. And I'm going to work the over-under, and I'm going to go with the under, because I don't think New Mexico helps them in that situation. I don't think we get to a 30-30 ball game or a 35-30 game. So, 55 points is a lot of points. So I'm going to take them money line and the under.
I like it. So, but you do got Montana State winning, man. So first FBS win of the season in a weird way. Yeah, I like to say FCS over FBS upset. I can't say it for this one. It's just an FBS win for the FCS, because I don't think we'll ever see that again. Coach, we're going to go to our game of the week that I picked for the website. Then we'll go to our game of the week on this channel because I know there's a lot of FAMU people in the chat right now waiting to hear our thoughts on that one. So we'll say that one for last. McNeese traveling to number 21 Tarleton State FCS game of the week. Coach, this game, I've said this on
explosion.
Listen. Tarleton's an 18-point favorite. Coach, I want to ask you, because I asked Sam this, I asked Timothy this on all the shows I've been on this week. Has there ever been a more intriguing 1-10 team in the history of college football like McNeese State this year?
And we're going to see very soon. They had holes last year everywhere. And, the anticipation for me to see if Tarleton picks up offensively where they left off at is going to show where McNeese is defensively.
Yep.
That's why I said it's an explosion coming, man. And Tarleton has a lot of expectations. So,
Yep.
How do they handle that? Is going to be, one of those questions in the game. Is it going to be too much? Who's in better shape? It's a 2:30 kickoff. Hot, humid. This could, swing the game one way or another. But I'm still going to ride with T-State, and I'm going to take all those points and the over.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I'll say this, and I always love giving betting tips to our chat because there are some people, because I had one person reach out to me about 2 years ago and said, Barry, I've just picked every pick y'all have made on the show, and I've made a good bit of money this year. I'm telling you, yeah, right? If I need a share of that, that's what I need to do. I need to get some contracts sent out. But if there's a guaranteed bet, in my opinion, to hit this weekend, it's the over in this game. Yeah. 56.5 is not enough.
No, because Tarleton can do that themselves.
Yes.
But they could also give up 52.
Exactly. You got two defenses that struggled last year. A team who wasn't good offensively last year, but has a guy who just led Montana to the national championship. And then you got a top 20 offense in the country that returns 10 starters. Coach, Tarleton returns 10 starters from that offense, including 4 starters on the offensive line. I'll say this, Coach. Here's what I'm interested to see is, one, what is the energy around Tarleton's program? Just because this is the first year they're eligible for the postseason. This is a home opener on week 0 on ESPN2. The full country is going to be focused on Tarleton State. Do they live up to the hype? Like you said, it's different when you got all this pressure now, because the past few years they really weren't playing for anything. Now, I'm not saying they weren't motivated, but Coach, it's different. Alcorn's playing differently if y'all aren't eligible for the SWAC championship compared to if you guys can go to the SWAC championship. The motivation, the focus is a little bit different. Kayvon Britton is must-see TV this weekend. You get Kayvon Britton behind an experienced offensive line. He was an All-American at UAPB, All-Conference at UAPB. He was an All-Conference All-American last year, 16 rushing touchdowns last year, Coach. And he's going up against a defense that allowed over 200 yards per game last year on the ground. Behind an offensive line that has 4 returning starters, this is the game that I expect Kayvon Britton to put on an absolute show. And then you got that guy, Coach. I know you're big into wide receivers. Darius Cooper is the only returning FCS wide receiver with a 1,000-yard season. He was hurt last year. I think, man, the last fully healthy season, 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Watch out for Darius Cooper. But I will say this. On defense, I'm interested to see Tarleton State, Coach, because they were bad last year. And this is a weird thing, because you know how statistics work. It depending on how we look at it in terms of averages and per game and per play and stuff like that, Tarleton's defense would rank outside the top 50 if you looked at yards per game and scoring defense and stuff like that. Coach, they rank like 16th in the nation in yards per play allowed. The problem is they couldn't get off the field on third down. So you show promise, but can you get off the field on third down now?
That, and when you have a quick strike offense, you play a lot of defensive snaps. And Tarleton is one of those offenses that can hit you for 80 in one play. And, the thing that's going to be interesting to see, if Tarleton can't get that pass game rolling, are they going to be patient enough to turn around and hand that thing off until they can catch a rhythm? And if they get both of them rolling, it could be a long night for McNeese.
And Coach, the funny thing as you know from the transfer portal, his backup in the running back room rushed for 1,000 yards the year before Kayvon Britton got there. So they got two 1,000-yard rushers in the backfield right now.
1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, and a 1,000-yard receiver. And I will say this: the guy I'm interested to see, if you're looking for a defensive player to watch for Tarleton, Giovanni Melidor. He was an all-conference player coach at Benedict under Chennis Berry. He's going to be the starting boundary corner most likely for Tarleton this year. And you got Omar Emmons at safety, who played at Valley last year and was a PFF All-American, highest rated defensive player in the SWAC last year. Does he follow up that next year? But McNeese, coach, you talk about 20 FBS transfers, 57 new players coming in. But, coach, none of that matters. The only person on the field that matters is number 2, Clifton McDowell. That's the storyline, right? That everyone in the chat who doesn't even that might be a fan of another school knows the story of Clifton McDowell, knows who Clifton McDowell is, and everybody in the country is going to be tuned in to see, can Clifton McDowell take what he did at Montana to McNeese? That to me, that might be the biggest storyline of the entire weekend. Man, you look at the Big Sky newcomer of the year, transfers out after leading Montana to a conference title and goes to a 1-10 McNeese team. Man, I don't know if there's a more intriguing storyline that you could have in a week 0 at this level, man. And I understand the concerns defensively, guys. I mean, they allowed 440 yards per game. Because I want to get back to this. Do you agree that, I mean, the Clifton McDowell transit? I mean, because, coach, I can't think of another quarterback that led a team to a national title appearance and a conference championship to transfer to McNeese, who won 1 game last year. I can't think of another time that has ever happened.
That's unheard of. That's truly going from the top to the bottom, and don't take that wrong, McNeese, but that's truly, in a sense, what happened with that. And, you know, when you talk about McNeese, they went heavy into the NIL market as well. So we're going to see what they paid for. And we're going to see what it was worth. But, you know, I got to go, you know, I've been driving this like you do. I've been driving this Tarleton State bandwagon for a little bit in the off season.
You had them at 10.
As I said, I've been driving it. I've been driving it.
I will say defensively, McNeese struggled. Now they do have Micah Davey coming back, 153 total tackles last year. Marquez White at edge is a player to watch. They also got Tristan Driggers from ULM that came in at linebacker. But, coach, as much as I do think, and I want to say this, my pick here isn't about how I feel about McNeese as a program. I do think they're going to be better than 1-10. I really do. And, coach, I'm sure, I mean, they're on y'all's schedule too. I'm sure y'all's staff is approaching it like that team's not going to be the team we played last year.
It's not the same team.
They're going to be better. But Tarleton is just that good, I think. And I think if you built a team that was, I guess, constructed to give McNeese problems, it's this Tarleton team with 2 good running backs, a good wide receiver, a returning quarterback, a revamped defense. I think this game's close early, coach, just because it's week 0 and you really don't know what to expect. It could be a little rusty. I think Tarleton pulls away late. I do think McNeese covers the 18-point spread, though. I got Tarleton winning 41-23 over McNeese State.
Ooh, you got them covering.
Yeah,
I'm just the opposite. I got Tarleton handling business in a major way. Yeah, I got them handling business in a major way.
I like it.
That's where I'm at with that one.
Coach, let's end the show on this game. And I know everyone in the chat's been looking for this one. Florida A&M, Norfolk State, MEAC SWAC Challenge, Atlanta, Georgia, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, ABC, prime time. Everyone's going to be tuned in. Coach, the road to Atlanta starts in Atlanta for the Rattlers. Do you think Dawson Odoms and the Spartans can shock the HBCU world this weekend?
I don't, but they need to do something. They cannot get boat raced in this situation. I don't think that's going to be a good situation for him. If they get boat raced, I think the heat turns up a little bit. I think the fan base is going to be a little hot under the collar if this turns into one of those type of situations. But I also feel like they've been very quiet. If they come out and they challenge or begin to boat race Florida A&M, that heat, that crowd that I'm talking about is going to be on the other side of the field. They just named their quarterback, and I know you have some thoughts on that. I won't speak to that, but they got to replace a lot of moving parts, a lot of game minutes, a lot of guys that had on the college shirts last year, and to me, they have a lot to prove. And whether that's warranted or justified or however you want to put it, they still have a lot to prove. And
Yeah,
this is one of those games where they could come out and win by 3, and I don't think it's going to be enough. Even
that's
though
fair.
they get out there with the win, I don't think it's going to be enough because the expectations are so freaking high.
Yeah.
Then they put another bullseye on their back for the outside noise to come about. They go out there and struggle. It's going to go back to what happened last week within the university, within the athletic program, the whole nine. So, I think those kids, that coaching staff's got a lot to block out. So the difference in the two locker rooms is very thin, very small, but I still say the defending champs come out on top.
Let me ask you, because I know you recruited him because you guys recruit the JUCO circuit really well, and I think you helped with that. As I wait for Coach to get back, hang on, let him get back, and I'm gonna ask him, Coach, you guys recruit the JUCO circuit really well, especially Garden City, that Kansas area. That's really your area.
Right.
Talk a little bit about Jalen Daniels for those who don't know him, man, because you recruited him, you know about him, you watched a lot of Garden City film. What what can fans expect from him? What type of quarterback is he?
Now I'm trying to think of a guy that everybody would know that they could kind of liking him to. Uh, he can definitely spin it. He's a guy that can get out of trouble, definitely. But I think he's a guy that doesn't want to do that as his number one. I think at this point, I think he's going to come out and try to showcase the arm. He's not a small kid, and I think he's very heady. He spent time in Garden City, so he understands what it is. Uh, if you've never been to Garden City, man, you take a couple of steps to
No,
your right.
he's not Lamar Jackson.
No, 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 no,
No,
no, no,
no, he's
no,
not that mobile. He's
no,
like
no, no, no,
6'5" too, so he's not Lamar.
no,
And we're
no, no.
talking
That's
about
what I said.
Norfolk's quarterback, by the way.
Yeah, he's not a
That
small kid. He's not he's not Lamar. Um, he I'm trying to think. He's not even a Noah Johnson. He is he throwing. He can put you in the mind of a glass. But he has better mobility, athleticism than say Glass did, if that makes sense.
yeah,
But
that's
he's
fair.
he's not going to get out of there and go 80
No,
by no means.
no, he's not mobile, guys. And I do think, and I will say this, Coach, I watched a little bit of his film. I think he's a better quarterback than his stats show. If you just look at his stats, he might not blow you away, especially because of the interceptions. But when you really watch the film, I think he's better because when I went through his stats through game by game, he had like one or two games where he threw like 3, 4 interceptions, and it just kind of skewed it in the wrong direction as well. He had a really, really bad game, and it was like a 3-0 game, Coach. And I just think the defense in that game was just insane. I would say watch the film. He's not a mobile guy, but he does make good decisions. And I do think he has a solid arm. And I'm interested to see, Coach, what Dawson Odums does with him because
Mhm.
he's he's not the quarterback I think that Dawson's had success with, right?
No, he's not
Especially
the kid that he had at Southern. He's not that kid.
or the kid he
Uh,
had his first year at Norfolk
no, he's not
either.
that kid.
No, definitely not. So I will say, like, I'm interested to see what he looks like, and I think they're going to run the football. Coach Norfolk returns 2 starting running backs. They return a pretty experienced offensive line. And coach, this is a team that's won 5 games in the past 2 years and lost to a D2 team last year, and they had the most all conference selections in the MEAC. Like,
Absolutely crazy.
tell me, like, how does that even make sense? And obviously, everyone already knows, Coach Otto Coons is out for the first 4 weeks of the season, so Jalen Daniels is the guy there. I think this is where I'm curious how this game is going to match up because, Coach, when I look at FAM's offense, the running back room highlights the offense for me. Where you got Somerset, you got Kelvin Dean, you got Thad Franklin, you got those transfers they brought in. I think the kid was from like Old Dominion, if I'm not mistaken. They got a lot of depth at running back. I think they're going to run the football in this game because I don't think Norfolk has the personnel front seven wise to match up with FAM's offensive line. And they were really bad against the run last year, Coach. They allowed over 200 yards per game on the ground. And the secondary is a strong spot for Norfolk with Teron Mallory, RJ Coles, Devin Cole. If you don't have to let Daniel Richardson do a lot, that's good for you, right? If you're FAM, if you can keep it simple for Daniel in his first start and run the football and get out of here with a win, that's a huge win for Colsey because you don't have to put a lot on film in terms of your passing concepts, your overall offensive identity. I just think right now, Coach, FAM has the better roster, top to bottom. I don't think FAM has to show a lot in this game, Coach. And maybe I'm wrong and I'm underestimating Norfolk. I just think this is a terrible matchup for what Norfolk does well versus what FAM is going to do well.
And I think you hit it on the head. I think FAM has to take on that identity early of we're going to run and occasionally punt it and put our best unit, which is our defensive unit, on the field. We're just not going to crash and burn it. We'll get what we get. We'll punt it, put you in bad situations, run our defense out there, which we say is the better part of our team, and we'll play football from there. We'll let you make the mistakes. And I think this first game, I think that's got to be their mindset. New quarterback, like I said, new position, new play caller. I think they've got to just turn around, hand it off, pick your spots, and kind of go from there.
This was the biggest thing, I think, the development, Coach, for FAMU offensively. We'll talk about Richardson in a second. Coach, I was a little bit worried about their offensive line because they had some guys that were banged up last year. They returned 4 guys with starting experience
which is
at
huge.
FAM that played at FAM. You got Jalen Goss at left tackle, who was an All-American level left tackle last time we saw him. Ashton Grable played last year. Cesar Reyes got hurt 2 years ago, played all of last year. And then TJ Lee's back at right guard as a senior. So I think that's why you're going to see a lot of running because you got a new quarterback. You have a loaded running back room and a deep, experienced offensive line unit against a front seven that has over the past 2 years has not been stout against the run. So that's why I think FAM's going to take that approach in terms of what they're going to do offensively with this new scheme. Now, I want to get to Daniel Richardson as we wait for Coach to jump back in here. I understand. I know I spoke a lot on here that just me personally, I expected Meritovich to get the starting job. And I've already laid out my concerns with Daniel Richardson. I went back and watched some film, and I want to clarify some of my thoughts about Daniel Richardson because I feel like I did a poor job of that on some of the recent episodes. If you would have just given me Daniel Richardson's film from Central Michigan, I think he would have been by far my favorite to win the job. The concern has come in for me is that I don't feel like his film at Florida Atlantic has lived up to the expectations that were set when I watched his film from Central Michigan. And I believe it was like 9 consecutive games. He threw a pick last year. And there was one of the games where, some of his picks were just, I can't explain it. I don't know what he was reading. I don't know what exactly he was looking at. But Coach, I wanted to catch you up real quick.
And I apologize. Everybody and their mom was calling me. I'm going off my phone today instead of my iPad. And the day is the day that everybody and their mom's calling me about a night practice that we have. And I'm like, just pull up.
Yeah, just go. Coach, I was telling everyone the reason that I was skeptical about Daniel Richardson is because he had film from Central Michigan, Coach, and he had film from FAU. I watched the Central Michigan film first, and I was like, man, this kid can ball. And then I turned on the FAU film, and I didn't see the same flashes that I saw at Central Michigan. And that's where I was concerned. And then, Coach, he threw a pick in like 9 consecutive games last year. And there was one game where, I just don't know if it was just a bad game from him. I don't know what he was looking at. I talked to Scotty about it earlier. I was like, what was he looking at with this? And That's my one concern. And I don't think you're going to see it in this game, Coach. I don't think they're going to just take Richardson and make him throw it 45 times against his Norfolk defense. But I do think his experience is going to play a key, Coach, because he has played a lot of football at the FBS level. And that's the difference, is that he's played in like 30 plus games at the FBS level. So maybe he is ready and he does take a big step forward. But 10 interceptions last year was my concern. And then he threw 3 ridiculous picks in the spring game. And in the spring, I heard Maritovich would look better, but everything I'm hearing is he excels in this offense, and he has throughout fall camp, and that's what separated it. I'm fine with him being the starter. I'm just a little bit concerned about his turnover, and like how much he turns the football over, man. That's just my one concern there, man. So how do you feel about it?
You can't substitute those game minutes.
Yep.
You hope that, the biggest thing with your quarterback, especially if you're bringing in a new guy, is that, okay, cool, he's up to college game speed. We're over that hurdle. Now you've got to get him into the decision-making part of whatever it is you're doing offensively, and you got to figure that out. So whatever it was in the spring game that caused those 3 turnovers, you got to figure out what he saw and what made him go to that side of the field or whatever it is. But to have a guy that comes in with the experience you're ahead of the 8, because the game speed is not going to freak him out. He's going to be calm, cool, and collective in it. And then, worst case scenario, you hope the guys in the college shirt, you hope that we can interject ourselves in there until we can get the guy that we have calling the signals comfortable within the offense, meaning turn around, hand it off, keep everybody comfortable. Yeah. As compared to having him go out there and throw it 30 times, and then you look up and then he's like 8 for something with 2 picks, and then everybody's like, what are we doing? That could make it worse. So, I think they're ahead of the game with the guy because he has that experience. But I'm kind of like you, the decision making. Now, is it going to become worse because he feels that he's down a level? His arm's a little better than the talent he's seeing, and he can kind of force some of those window throws? Or is he going to let the game come in and settle down and just play football? So, we'll see. But, it's prime time, week 0. Everybody's going to have some jitters. Who can settle down the fastest in the quarterback room on both teams, get their teams comfortable, I think is going to be the biggest key here.
And I'm interested to see how they use him too, because I've heard some people talk about him running, and I don't know what film they watch, but he's kind of like Jalen, where he's super mobile in the pocket, Coach, where he can manipulate the pocket and manipulate his arm angles, and I don't want to compare him. And this is why I hate comparisons, Coach, because people hear the name and think about the potential of that player rather than the specific skill set I'm talking about. He manipulates the pocket. He's mobile more like an Aaron Rodgers than he is a Lamar Jackson, if that makes sense, where Aaron, very mobile in the pocket, but Aaron's not breaking a 30, 40-yard run on you, and you don't have to really QB spy him, stuff like that. Unlike a Lamar, Daniel Richardson isn't a guy who's going to take off and he's going to run for 100 yards in a game.
That's not what he wants to do.
No, but he's a pocket passer, really and truly.
He can get out of there. He can get out of there, but that's not his first thought. No. I wouldn't even call Daniel a dual threat. I really do think he's a true pocket passer, and it might be a good thing, because they have the running backs where we don't need him to be out here scrambling and get hurt. Make the right read, stay in the pocket, get out of the pocket and make the read downfield. We don't need you to go out there and run for 100 yards a game. So, Coach, I'm gonna say this. Defensively, real quick, Kendall Bowler is the guy there. This defense ranks 2nd nationally, returns only 2 starters. James Ash, Alan Smith Jr. Coach, if you're looking for a breakout player, I'm interested in seeing. He's going to play their striker position, more kind of like that hybrid outside linebacker role. Listen, Eric Horn, Coach, 6'2", 225. I think that's the guy you need to watch. I believe he's number 5. That's the guy I think could be a breakout player for them in that second level, because obviously they lost Isaiah Major. And, Coach, this is the interesting thing. If you remember, they added Jaron Fox at Mike. He was an all-conference guy at Valley. Jaron did not win the Mike positional battle. He's a backup right now. So that to me, that's kind of a good sign, because that means somebody really emerged I'm interested to see in a lot of those positions because you remember now they brought in a lot of guys and they had a
Yep.
lot of hype around the FBS guys. And I hadn't heard about all those guys coming down the pipe. So,
Yep.
ESPN, ABC, it's going to be interesting to see how many of those guys from Clemson, how many of those guys from all over the place that they were talking about actually play and contribute.
That's the other kid's name. Davian Westmoreland, coach, 6'4", 255. He's going to play the DN spot for them. I heard if there is somebody who's going to emerge as an edge rusher,
Got
it's
to be
him.
him.
I heard he had a really, really good fall camp. So I do agree with that, man. That was a good play. So, coach, real quick, we'll make our last pick. I have FAM winning this game, and I don't even think it's going to be close. And this is why I didn't pick it as a game of the week necessarily, coach, is because I if FAM doesn't win this game by 14 plus points, I'm going to be just floored. I really just think and it's not because I think FAM is just world beaters this year, coach. I just don't have a lot of faith in Norfolk this year and what they bring back. I really do think there's going to be some more growing pains there. I got FAM winning in a similar fashion that Jackson did last year with South Carolina State. I got FAMU 38-10 over Norfolk State, man. I think they put up some touchdowns late. And I will say, we did talk a lot about quarterbacks. Coach Colsey said that Meritovich will play at some point. And I'm very, very curious if Meritovich comes out there and looks really, both quarterbacks look really good. Do we see a potential 2 quarterback thing going on later into the season?
Interesting. I have fam as well. I have it as a second half pull off,
Yeah.
just like you do. And I expect them to be at least a 20-point win by the end because I'm sure right now as we speak, there's so much green and orange in Atlanta that this is going to feel like a true home game and a true away game for who is designated as the home team. So, it's here, ready to go, excited about it, can't wait. I'll be tuned in, have my popcorn. I don't know if I'm gonna go adult wise or not. It kind of depends on what it is or where I'm at. But I'm excited about it, man. Excited.
Guys, man, so I won't be traveling this weekend, man, so I'll be tuned in as well, man. Me and Coach will get a recap together. We actually might do a recap together in person because y'all see the content coming down the pipeline, man. I'll be making my way up to Lorman on Sunday as me and Coach got some things planned. We're going to get some content before they head up to, is it UAB week 1?
Yep.
UAB. So me and Coach will be doing some content from Lorman, man. We got a lot of good stuff, man. Mic'd up content, live content, man. Just stay tuned for that. Won't find any better FCS content anywhere else, man. I really, really and truly mean that. But guys, for Coach Fred, for myself, for the Bluebloods FCS Football Central, man, we are out for right now.